Happy Friday, everyone. This is Can We Just Talk, and today, in conjunction with International Women's Day on March 8th, we are bringing you an all-girls episode featuring Pauline, Intan, Ash, and myself.
Since it's Women's Month, then we're going to talk about should women stay at home and look after children?
Yeah, so Pauline and myself, we were getting to know each other the other day. And actually, Pauline mentioned she does want to be a housewife someday. So it got me thinking, because today, women, we have come a long way from that era where there are gender stereotypes, where women were supposed to stay at home and be housewives. Now we actually have a choice. And
Correct.
so I want to know if you guys were given a chance. I mean, now we can definitely do both, but if it's a situation where you have to choose, would you sacrifice your career? So maybe Pauline can give us, an insight of what she thinks, since she actually someday does plan to be a housewife.
I didn't expect that one, Tammy. Thank you very much. Honestly, one of my dreams is to just stay at home, take care of my kids. I mean, have a big family. My husband is going to work. But I mean, I'm just thinking it for now. I'm not married yet. I don't know if my husband would like for me to stay at home, or would he stay at home, or by that time, am I going to be a career focused person that I don't even want to be a housewife? So, but as of now, I'm young, 23 years old. I would like to be a housewife.
If it's your choice, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Intan, you are actually pretty established in terms of your career, big time editor. Now, let's say, you get married, you have children, your husband is like, Intan, you're gonna stay home now because, I can afford it. Are you going to just, let go of everything and take care of your kids?
To be honest with you, if I were given the choice, even if my husband was, rich or had a good job, I think personally I would like to be around for the formative years of my children. So I believe that, maybe the first 3 years, perhaps, even if I had the choice, I would like to be the one, nurturing them, bringing them up, guiding them. To be able to have a choice and to have an option, that's great because we've come a long way. But personally, despite no matter how great a job I can have or how great a job my husband can have, I do like to be the one who plays the mother role, at least for the first 3 years of my children's life.
So meaning you would actually give up your job, right?
Yeah.
I think I would. In the workplace, you are replaceable. But as a mother, the formative years of your children is very important. And I think you should be the one raising the kids as opposed to, sending to your in-laws or, to the maid, because instilling that early foundation for me personally is very important.
I get Intan's point. It's great, What about you, Ash?
I'm similar with Intan because I grew up in a household where my mom, and she was the only one that actually went to work and also then raised us. But because she was always home, she was home by 5, maybe it's not a full-time take care of kids, but she played a very active role. And I think if you ask me, that's what I would like to do as well, spend quality time with kids, especially like Intan said, for the formative years, because that's when you actually really build your bond with your child. Yeah, rather than leaving it to, I don't know, kindy, grandparents, a helper. You'd want to build that bond for yourself. There's nothing like it, if you ask me.
I agree with everything you guys said, right? So I'm just bringing this up for discussion. I understand that it's very important that the parents themselves spend time with the children. I personally love kids, right? I would want to, but say you're earning like a lot of money, maybe a bit more than your husband. Will you then ask your husband to stay home instead? Will you actually give all that up to spend 3 years with your children?
Woo!
I would, because I feel a mother's value is priceless. There's no amount of money. A mother and a father, there's a reason why it's mom and dad. They both have different roles to play. And I think like when it comes to nurturing, when it comes to, you just gave birth to the child, for God's sake, start it right. That's what I would say. To be a mother, I think it's just priceless. And there's no amount of money that can take me away from my kids, especially in the early days. Yeah. Like I always believe that in life, there's different stages that you go through. If you are as good as you're supposed to be or as you are, then what's 3 years?
Wow.
Pauline seems to be sweating now. She's not not very sure.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I just want to be honest here because I am not in the place, but as of now, I am thinking that okay, I will still give up. But if we're not established by then, like we don't have anything, we don't then I will not give up financially. You just also have to be prepared with that one because you know you're going to have a child, right? You have a family, you're going to start a family with your love.
Ash, do you have anything to add? What
I-
decision would you make?
Sorry, if I earn enough, right? For the
You earn a
for the-
lot, more than enough. Wait, I want to point out that I feel everyone here is very
No,
idealistic.
I just have like two thoughts here.
Yeah.
So one is, of course, ideally, like you're saying,
Yeah.
if I make enough money, then I'm like, yeah, let the husband stay at home and it's fine, I can do it. But it also depends on the type of husband you have. Is he then the nurturing type? Of course, you've seen a lot of change now where men are really more open towards taking up or being a very active, supportive partner in the terms of childcare and stuff like that. You do see it at restaurants where they let their wives take a break and they'll do the caregiving for that bit and stuff like that. But so that depends on the type of guy you marry. Then there's also the stigma of having a stay-at-home husband. I don't know if Asians are so open to it. The man always has that kind of
Ego.
the
Yeah.
role of the head of the family, and then
Mm.
on the other side, if like your husband makes enough money and you can stay home, it still begs the question, because I don't know, just based on friends and family who have maybe had this discussion before, and then you hear about this conversation, not necessarily everybody's open to it. This one particular person wanted to stop work and just take care of the kids for a few months. I think it only happened for say about a year of her child's life, and then it was pressure of finances, in-laws, things like that, where like, how are you not supporting your family and making it even better?
But the thing is, I'm just curious. When you opt to bring up your children, especially the formative years, who's to say that the woman still cannot contribute or have some semblance of a job or a career? She can always do something part-time. She can always freelance and still be able to be in the house to look after the children. I think it's not so much just looking after the children. There's a lot of things that mothers do, during the early years. Because I remember being brought up by a very present mother. I think we had two maids, one for me, one for my brother.
Wow.
But my mother made sure that she was the one, who did everything that was related to us, and everything else on the periphery, like the cooking and everything else that would take her away from being with us, she would leave to the maid. So what I'm trying to say is this: we assume that just because the mother makes the decision to bring up her children, it means that she cannot have a career at all. But actually, that's a myth. She can, and especially in this day and age, when you can do freelance work, you can be from home. I think women are lucky today.
Yeah, today, given this climate, I think it's endless possibilities.
Perfect.
Yeah,
right?
it's
yes.
possible. Yes.
But a couple of years back, or even times of parents, it's like,
I also think, sorry, that when the child comes from a very stable home in the formative years, right? When
makes
they
a lot
go
of
to
difference.
school, I think there's less problem children, so to speak. I feel because it's a safe environment that you're creating from young, and they go on to become, I would think, better people.
Maybe this is a very traditional thinking, I guess, but sometimes when someone say that person is a housewife, we have that thinking that this person is not contributing to the family. But even my mom, she's a homemaker, a housewife. Of course, she's very proud of her occupation, but there are people who doesn't give enough credit to housewives, right? Why do you think that's the case? Do you think housewives should get salary? Because dude, it's not easy, right? You see, we
It's the
can
hardest.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think being a mom is hard. It's 24 hours. You don't get paid. You don't even get the
Day off.
recognition. No
Days
day off.
off.
No days off.
And when sometimes you want money from your husband,
It's like you're drawing blood,
they don't understand, right? Because they're not in your position. So what do you guys think about the salary part? Should husband actually give a salary to the wife? Or I don't know.
Maybe
It's an allowance,
maybe
right? It's an allowance.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
more of an allowance than a salary.
Most husbands don't give wife personal allowance.
That's interesting. Actually, because I do know, I do know of people who the wife is a housewife and the husband gives different kinds of allowance. So one's for the kitchen, one is for her personal spending. And even if you're talking about religion in Islam as well, your money is your money, your husband's money is also your money. So in that respect, it's quite ideal. If
Yes.
I had the choice and everybody's paying me money, I don't see why I wouldn't want to be at home. But yeah, I mean, it's not a salary, it's an allowance, and you appreciate, your wife's role or what she does in the home. I think being at home is harder. Being a housewife is a lot harder because your time's like literally from morning to night, and there's always something to do, and especially if you have children. Whereas if you go to work, it could be 10 to 5, 10 to 6, 9 to 5. And half the time you're probably out, having lunch with your friends or just chatting on the phone or, get a bit of work done. But at the end of the day, it's not so intense. Whereas, bringing up children and having to do housework, and that's why I said, there's no salary. You can't put a number to how much you should be paying somebody who's
Yeah.
looking after your children or,
That's
doing
just
the housework. That's why God made women the most versatile
stronger.
creature on earth. I mean, I think to every 9 things that a woman does, a man can probably just complete one. So
Ooh.
think about it.
In terms of household, my parents are quite different in that my dad manages the budget. But yes, I do know women are generally the, how to say, financial controller, budget manager. This is what I feel sometimes being a housewife. When you were once a career woman, you sacrifice all this kind of freedom for your child, and you don't want to blame your children, but emotionally sometimes as women you cannot control. I don't know, have you all ever thought about that?
It's something to get used to, because if you've had that independence, financial freedom and independence, and
Yeah.
then suddenly maybe not having it, I guess it's personal how you adjust to it also. But yeah, fine.
That's why I mentioned earlier when it's
Sacrifice.
going back to religion, for Islam especially. So the husband's money is your money, and your money is your money. So actually the husband has no right to ask from you. And on top of that, in addition to that, he's supposed to give you an allowance, as well as money for the kitchen.
Tammy, do
So,
you hear this? We need to reassess our.
So I'm just saying this because from the last episode I did a bit of matchmaking in Tan. I tried a hand at connecting Ash with Kai.
Right. Because the thing is, what if you ask men today, Muslim men, it's they will interpret it the way they do. But if you look at it, the religious, refer to the Quran, and that's what it says. A woman's actually like the queen, the ultimate empress, and the man is supposed to look after her. But as you know, everything's open to interpretation, and especially human interpretation.
Yes.
So that's when everything goes haywire. Yeah.
That's really my philosophy. That's why I told my mom, I'm like, his money is my money is
It's
my
my
money.
That's the way it should be,
But I do think some people do that. I mean, there are some, friends that I hear, they're like, no, I'm not spending any of my cash. It's his money that's gonna,
Yeah.
like,
If the guy can put up with
noted.
it, that's okay. But if the woman has some semblance of compassion, she'll say, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah, exactly.
So Ash, one more reason to consider Kai. And
Is this matchmaking? Like,
Yeah.
what
You
are
are the one.
it's my job. I take
Cupid.
it very seriously.
She's
But
been trying to be Cupid for the longest time.
Oh.
Tammy.
yeah, I just find joy in doing things like that.
In
But
cupiding.
Intan mentioned something earlier, which I find super interesting, which is the woman controls the guy's money also. That's why I want to see, since Pauline actually has a boyfriend, I was very interested to see if she actually manages Paulo's.
Do you want an honest answer?
Yes.
Yeah, because you are in training
know?
already.
Okay. Listen. Honestly, before he buys anything, he consulted to me. I don't know why, but he really asked me first. I didn't expect him that he's going to ask me every time, but honestly, that's what he do every time. I mean, like, should I buy this one? Just let me know. If you say you don't want, then I will not. I mean, maybe on his mind, he knows that I'm the one who can also budget money.
That's very considerate. Lucky you, Pauline.
But I think it also depends on the type of women, right? Because not everyone is good with budgeting. I mean, some are not. And then I think that's when you need a partner who, like shopping or whatever. Some people might have a little bit of a...
For me, I will never handle finance. I can make the decision, but you shouldn't allow me to handle your finance.
I think as a single person, I would not want to be the one to handle my finances. But I think when you sort of have a family and you have children, I think you sort of grow up because you know your limitations and the constraints,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So because it's no longer about you or me, myself, and I, it's going to be about a bunch of other people. Could be a lot of kids, and then a husband who might not be able to be so good with finances. So my mother is the one who knows, how to control and what to buy, what not to buy. My dad is the woman, he will he will just go, he loves shopping and all that. He'll be the one, to splurge. And my mother's the one that's going to pull the reins and say, hey, it's probably going to be cheaper somewhere else or whatever. So she controls. So she's got, when it comes to things like that, she's got a level head. But yeah, I think you cannot really sort of put a blanket on everything, right? Because men and women can be very different, and sometimes the stereotype. But generally, if we are speaking about, because on the topic of whether women should give up their career and stay at home and all that, I think there's a reason why a father's a father and a mother's a mother, and I think they should both be playing different roles. I know in this day and age when you're speaking about, gender equality and all that, but fundamentally, you really think about it, being a mother or being a father and playing your respective roles is not about, I'm trying to be equal, I'm better than you, whatever. It's not about that. There's a deeper thing that you're looking at.
What do you think about also like moms who then take time off and then who return to the workforce? Are they given a fair shake?
I know of people who've done that. My cousins, I remember what they did was, or rather this particular person, she took out, I think, 3 years of her work. She was working, successfully working, highly educated. She took 3 years out to make sure that she breastfed and she brought up her child. And then after that, what she did was she sent to a babysitter that was not too far away from where she was, but she was still able to keep an eye out on the child. And she went back to work, and her value hadn't dropped, her market value hadn't. And in fact, that I think that gives you a greater satisfaction, the fact that you have given one and the other, equal importance.
I think that's a very good point. Part about having both equal importance,
If the sciences are correct, and the first 3 years of a child's life is their formative years, the most important, when their brains are being developed, they learn social skills and all that. So what's 3 years? Seriously. So to be able to combine both, I think at the end of the day, you'll say to yourself, you know what? I was able to do everything. And that's why I'm a woman, because we can do everything.
Now, my next question is more interesting. What do you think if your husband, now I'm going to switch it up, right? What if your husband said, yo, I want to be a house husband. So you go out and work, because I too want to spend time with my child during their formative years like you do. So why don't you go out and work and then I be the house husband? So earlier we talked about if you have no choice, you have to stay home and take care of the kids. But now your husband wants your job.
Wonderful husband. I'm glad I married the right man.
Yeah, I
And
think
you
it
chose
depends
the
on the guy.
I'll probably ask the kid. I'll ask the kid, who do you want at home, mom or dad?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a better question.
That's a good idea, Intan. Thank you very much. I'll take note on that.
Okay. On that note, if given a choice, when we were, looking back when we were kids, and if you were asked that question, do you want mom or dad at home? What would your answer be?
Oh, my mom.
Same.
Of course, my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
that answers that question though.
But then no, it doesn't, because your baby is like what, 1 month old, can't even
Oh,
talk.
come on. All you got to do is just hold up a picture. This one or this one.
Actually, why don't you do it like how they do when they apply for a job? There's the list. It's a checklist. Can he cook? Yes. No. Can he breastfeed?
Wow.
Yes. No. Can he look after the
I
child?
think
Can
that
he
one,
change
Intan,
diapers?
I think we're the only one who can do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea to allow the man to see what
To
it really is
experience
like.
also.
Yes, to experience.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they really understand what a mother's role is like. Being at home.
I think people always think that if you are going to be a housewife, it is your role. It's not your job. So everyone thinks that if you do that, it's natural for you to do that because you're a mom. That's why I think a lot of people really don't see a lot of efforts about what a housewife can do.
Motherhood doesn't come naturally to every woman.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
true.
it's not a given, right?
Yeah.
It's something we also have to learn, because
Yeah.
assuming that we are new mothers, I mean, it's the first time, so it's trial and error.
I agree with like the part where we can never be fully prepared, I guess, mentally, emotionally even, a lot of things I see my mom do for us. At this point, I don't think I can do, it's a lot of sacrifice. But when you mention like women not being, housewives not being really appreciated, I have this story about my friend, and I thought it's a very beautiful story. I saw her post on Instagram last time, pre-COVID days. She always complained about her husband, and it's quite funny, but basically she's just unhappy with her husband. But then recently I saw her Instagram update. She was like, her husband actually saw the amount of work she has to do at home. And because her husband is working from home, she saw the amount of calls her husband had to do. And she realized when her husband worked until 8 p.m., it's really because he has con calls until 8 and he is really tired. And she said, actually, COVID made them understand each other even more. And I thought it's a very beautiful story because then they saw each other's sacrifice. Everyone has a role to play in the family, but just because you don't see it, you don't know. But when you actually see it, there's a better understanding.
Yeah, that's why it's a good idea to do role swapping from time to time. So to let each other know what it's really like, instead of
Yeah, it's like
what you think
putting
it's like.
yourself in the shoes of others, right?
Yeah, correct. Give them like a week. I bet you they'll be running back to the office.
I mean, on my age, I already took care of my cousins, Paula's niece. Actually, I've experienced being like a housewife because my mom is a career woman. So I'm the one who always thinks what to cook. I'm the one who always asks for what do they want.
I think it also depends the kind of character that you have. If you're a homebody, I don't think it would, you wouldn't mind so much. But personally, I cannot imagine staying in the house 24 hours. I need to have my fresh air, be out and see friends and have my coffee and all that. There's such a thing as whether you are housewife material or whether, nobody has a choice when it comes to motherhood, because you either get pregnant or you don't, right? I think I'd probably go loopy if I had to stay home for 24 hours and do what housewives do and what. So I really salute them, really. And I think it's the most honorable and the most respected, as far as I'm concerned, occupation that one can possibly have.
I think like for me, one experience was taking care of my nephew when he was about 3. And so it's a crash course from, only having a few hours when he's, a little baby, helping to, bathe, change, that's it. But this was like a whole entire day and night as well, because he was, sleeping over. I was like dead tired by the end of the day. And I just told my mom that I can't do it anymore.
Toddlers are
Yeah.
another.
A constant, the moment he gets up. So I had to get up in the morning.
Yes.
And I had to already think of breakfast. And then he gets up and, breakfast, shower, milk. And then, you want him to do some sort of activity. So we played.
Yeah.
And then we did the reading and all that. And then you're like, when you put him to nap, and I wanted to scroll my phone or, just check Instagram, do whatever. And I barely had any time. Literally, I probably have to nap at the same time. And then it just went on and it was just towards the end. And I was like, oh, wow, that was a day, man. Like, so can you imagine if you're doing
having
it
to do
day
that
in, day
every day?
out? One thing to note was like my dad actually kind of helped my mom a lot. Like if she was coming back late from work, we would be bathed, clothed, everything, and meals would be done. He would cook. So I think that's also very important. It should be just a balance if you have a good partner that can then supplement. And I think with COVID, it's either brought a lot of couples together or it has then expose certain things that you have to work on.
I think you just have to be supportive of each other, because at the end of the day the children are yours,
exactly,
the husbands and the wives, right? So why should it be
it's your family
party? It's your family, so why should one party do more and the other sit and watch Netflix, right?
For me, growing up, my mom always said this because she actually gave up her job to take care of us, and I don't think it was her choice back then. The circumstances was that she has to give up her careers to take care of us. Obviously she does a great job, she loves what she does, especially now, but at one point I think she does miss working. So growing up, she always told me that you should never give up your career, and I think that is also why I always have this thinking that I would never give up my career for children. This is just how I thought for a long time, until I guess recently, maybe a few years ago, I met a kindergarten teacher that actually said what Intan said. Like she said, for the first few years of your children's life, it's actually very important for the mom to spend time with that child. She also, that kindergarten teacher, actually gave up her career for I think 5 years, no, 6 years, until primary school. For a child's development, the first 6 to 7 years, she feels that it's very important that a mom be with the child. So that actually got me thinking, because my mom always say like you should always work so that you have your own allowance, you don't have to depend on your husband. That's how we are programmed.
Actually, that's what my mom told me too. Basically, from a young age, look, you need to, earn your own money, make sure everything, set yourself up so that you're not dependent, on your husband for, certain things.
And I think at the end of the day, when you decide what you want to do, I think it has to be a decision that you are going to be comfortable with. I mean, probably not totally delirious, but because you don't want resentment to build up. You don't want to have this blame game where you say, well, you made me stay. And then you might end up resenting your children. So I think something, a decision as big as that has to be something that it's a mutual decision that you come to with a backup plan. Because a resentful mom, I don't think is a very happy mother, and I don't think that's going to create a conducive environment in the home either.
Yeah, it's true.
Agreed.
I think women today, we're so blessed. We have so many options, but I think we are better equipped.
And the support system is great. I mean, the support system I feel these days is amazing, because personally, not only would I have my bunch of friends, my bunch of close girlfriends I'm sure would always be there. And then of course, you don't want to sort of rely on your in-laws or your parents, because I think they've gone through enough already raising you.
Yeah.
So they should not be, your backup plan if you can help it. So I think at the end of the day, if you can make babies, you should just take up the responsibility, between you and your husband. And
that's why I'm very careful, because I know I cannot even take care of a cactus plant. I told my mom, if you want grandchildren, get me a dog first.
Every mother always
kids
says
on the
they want
block.
grandkids. That's it.
Indian moms,
Asian
Chinese
moms, no?
Asian
I think
moms.
Asian, yes.
Coming back to this whole question, but do you think, given the whole majority of people and income brackets and stuff like that, do you think it's a reality though that women have that choice to step away?
Good question.
I think
no.
I think right now, I see a lot of either colleagues or even friends. I have 2 friends who are stay-at-home mom, and I have one friend who did the stay-at-home mom for a year, and then she's returned to work. But the rest of them, I've always heard, especially some older colleagues and stuff like that, who say it's difficult if it's only on a single income because the husband does not earn enough, or just because things are expensive and they have more kids. Then if you have one child, then maybe it's a little bit more easier in that sense.
Especially if you're living in the city, where things are not cheap. And but I feel, because I do have a lot of friends as well who say that, and it's not a choice. So they both have to go out and work. But having said that, it's also recognizing your constraints and your limitations and living, within the means that you have. If you live in the city, it's often not a choice whether you work or not. You do have to work. But I think for you can find a way of being able to balance things. I think it's not easy, but who says life is easy? You can be rich and have lots of challenges. You can be poor and have lots of challenges. But ultimately, I think quality time is important. Love, a lot of love, and love is, you don't have to pay for love. Plenty of that in the home, in whatever little the limitations that you're existing within. But okay, by all means, if you have to go to work, you work, but make sure that the quality time is given to the children.
Yeah.
And also there's this such thing as, quality over quantity, because you can have an ever-present mother or an ever-present parent in the house, but doesn't mean you're giving any attention to your child.
Exactly.
You could just be, stuck in front of the TV watching Netflix, and your child's running around downstairs and no idea what they're doing.
Or
right?
just on your phone, right?
On their
Completely
phone.
engrossed in something else.
Engrossed in the phone and not interacting with the child, not even having meals with the child. It's just having your body present, but you're not really there. So at the end of the day, again, it's about the quality rather than the quantity, I feel.
I agree with that one.
Right?
And I also think it's because of their work. Both my parents were home by at the latest 6. Dad would finish by 5. So, and he would drive and come back. My mom would take a bus and come back, and she has to walk home. But she'd be home by 6. I had them both at home, and they were not on their laptop. You see,
because you don't have laptops then.
Exactly. So that was a very good thing, because we watched TV together. We did things. We played games. We did, everything. We went out. That's the best part. The environment of your work was very feasible to support working and having, exactly. But here now, let's be honest, I don't know, but for me, I feel like sometimes I answer emails even after working hours or do something, and then you realize even on the weekends, on certain occasions, in cases of emergency, I get it. But if we have very clear boundaries and allow people to have family time, that's great for everyone.
Yeah, in a way, it's the challenges of modern day technology as well, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yes, when things were a lot simpler, I think it was, everything had its place. I think the simple life was what gave us the balance. I mean, I don't know, I'm not old-fashioned, but I do sort of wish that some of the simple ideal, of our past, or the way when we were brought up, when we were growing up, could come back, because I think that would do a world of good, especially for today's generation. I feel very troubled, lacking that sort of quality love that they should be getting from their parents. Let's answer the question. Should women give up their careers and stay home and look after children? So what's the conclusion? What do you think, Pauline?
Okay, for me, I think still it will depend on where you at that time, on your husband and what also Ashrina. But for now, if you're going to ask me, I'm still going to choose being a housewife.
But that's a choice.
Yes.
So since you made that choice, then that's okay. There's not going to be any issues
Yeah,
with that.
Ashrina?
Same thing. I think it depends on the situation of what are your financial, capabilities. It comes down to also who you're married to. If that person would be supportive enough, like, Intan mentioned previously, you don't want that blame game. You want to do it for your family and for the love of, your children and all that. So I think when the time comes, it will be more clear. But if given the option, take time away for like a year, 2 years, 3 years to then concentrate on family and everything else works out, like, yeah, I'm all for it.
What, like, if you
Awesome.
are you now, like your current situation, not the
My
future? Say your husband is Kai.
Oh my
Then be a
God.
housewife.
Because I
Rich.
don't know how much he earns, so I can't really answer this
He's okay.
question.
It's okay. Be a housewife. Ashrina, be a housewife.
If it's just like given my current situation, right, with me, and if you say my partner is in the same boat as me, exactly the same mirror finances and all that, I would probably not choose to be a housewife. I would then make a very conscious decision to put the child first, put the family first, and then continue to work, but have that constant thing where weekends or whatever or anything, family comes first. Given if financial situation is not great, then you can't then leave your partner to hang to dry and say, it's too bad, I'm not doing it, but you got to take care of the family.
What about you, Intan? If your husband is a middle income earner?
So middle income husband,
Yeah.
if we're speaking about the kind of career line that I'm in now, what I would do, my choice would be to take a couple of years out, because I know that I can actually work from home, and babies sleep most of the time. So there's no
Yeah.
such thing as you cannot do work, right? Especially in our line, especially being in the newspaper. So that's not a problem. And I would want my husband to be out going to work, and we live within our means. Plus, with Zoom and all that, you can be conversing, with your best friends, or doing your freelance work. It's not a problem. I don't see that as a problem. So I would choose to stay at home for 3 years, but have a job on the side. So I'm earning, my husband's earning. He doesn't have to be Robert Downey Jr. So
Tammy.
Tammy.
Actually, I think in the Mina, I would go with Ash. I don't think I'm gonna excel as a housewife. So I'm kind of worried about my children. I would love to spend time with them for sure, but I don't think I can stay home. And like Intan juggled another job. I cannot.
Are you going to have your mom take care of your child?
I might have to have my mom help.
Support. I think it's good to have support, right?
All
Because
is good.
you're learning, and
Yeah.
if you are lucky
Yeah.
enough to have your mother around, I think that's the best. That's the
Yeah.
best possible support system. Forget about sending them to a childminder.
Yep.
That's not a
Never.
good idea.
I
Yeah.
don't believe in those.
I think it will be very helpful, especially if you're a first-time mom. Yeah, just the support of the parents is very helpful.
Yeah, then you become pro, especially when you have more than two. And this has been, I think, a very fun episode. I always
Yeah.
like it when, maybe because I'm a girl, like I like it when all the
Are
girls
you?
talk. Although I want boys for children, but I do like it when all the girls come together. We can actually go on.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, it's all the time we have. And we are very excited because we're going to meet again, talk about something else next time, right?
Oh yeah. It's Chivalry Dead.
Yeah,
that should
I
be
can't wait with
interesting.
that one.
We'll make that one happen. In the meantime, everyone enjoy your weekend.
Thank you,
You
Intan
too.
and Ashrina, for always giving us your presence.